Welcome everybody to another Voice of Nick show. We're doing more of our Posthomerica artwork here. We're going to see if we can do any interesting stuff with the Penthesilea picture. Between episodes, I cleaned up the document, so I found out how big it was. The average size for one of these is like between 50 and 100 megs. This one was 450 megs. For some reason, probably because of the artifacts of like having created it originally on the computer. We did some kind of like layer styles to it or something. So I deleted a bunch of stuff, and now it's like 100 megs again, so it's, normal. Okay, so let's go back in it. We're gonna create our side things. These are going to be pretty simple, I think. It's just going to be two lines. Yeah, I think it's just basically that. I'm not sure why there's some kind of other thing showing up. There we go. Oh wait, we did it again. Okay, so for this, we have these lines. Let's put it against the wall so we can see if it's straight, which it probably isn't. Yeah, not exactly. So we'll kind of do this and this. Good. Then we'll take that. And let's see what we can do. So oh, whoops. That is not touching the bottom. Put this on the edge here. Damn it. It always does that when I don't want it to. Okay. Now we're just going to take a little portion of this background layer, good, it actually paid. Oh crap, okay, it's gonna take a little bit of doing. Good, so that's the picture. Now, let's just group a couple layers to clean this up. 2, 3. Get rid of this, we don't need that right now. Still, it would be nice to do something like this. I can't imagine how it would. I don't know how that would work. just for a second, let's get rid of that. Let's just see what it would look like if we did this instead. There is kind of like a nice quality to this. This looks really cool. It's a totally different type of picture, but it looks great. I just can't. So, okay, hold on a sec. If that's what we were doing with this instead, could we still do something interesting? Because the more I look at this, the more I really do like it. Make both of these brushes the same size. It's just such a cool design that we're losing. Now this is kind of cool that there's like a wall of black, almost like they're shattering the wall between their two different art styles. Thematically, I think that's kind of cool. Originally I didn't want it to be a straight line like this, but it might actually work even better. Let's redo her side a little bit. We want to center this on a certain point, like probably down here. So this is going to be our rough. We'll put in a proper version later because I want it to, this should not be so straight in the final, but I think this works pretty well. I think this might be a good middle ground for the other one, because the other one's more striking, but it's also just like inexcusably anachronistic. And to be honest, the extreme stylized thing in the center really just draws your eye away from the picture. You can't even really see what's going on. It's like confusing to the eye. So as much as I like this design, I think going with something a little bit more subdued is going to ultimately be better. I'm very excited by this picture. We're taking a very long time to finish it. But I'm glad that it's coming together in a way that I never really even expected that it could. So this is great. I think that works pretty well. So we'll leave that for now. That's a temp, but we are gonna fix it up later. Let's look at this. Let's just save it real quick. Let's see if we can't just stretch this, get away with that. No, it doesn't work completely. Let's try and split the difference. Honestly, if we did this, yeah, it works. Great. Now we're going to do the other side. Yeah, and if we do add cracks and stuff, I'm sort of deciding now that I don't even know if we need. I think we do need, because look, if you look at the picture here, and let's just make another way like this, the texture, you can see there's a texture on the vase, but then if you look here, there's not really a texture on the painted stuff. So I would like to add some kind of like, global thing. Now let's go back in here. You know what we can do is duplicate. I think this will work. If we duplicate this, we put it over here, and we can just use it as kind of like a reference for what we want to do in this area. Let's turn off the background for a second. Doesn't 100% work because of the difference in the characters, but it's a good start. I think I moved this by accident. Okay, so let's see what we got here. No, I don't like that. Don't like that. You know what it might be is that they're all going in the same direction. We want them to kind of like there we go. Traversal Gaming, welcome to the show. Checking in on your drawing, going great. You're doing this for a book, right? Yeah, so I'm publishing a book. It's my own edition of a ancient Greek story, and I'm doing illustrations for each chapter of the book. And we finished all the designs for the chapters, but now we're kind of going through and doing the finalized artwork, which means like just cleaning up all the lines, figuring out any of the like small details that we didn't necessarily define when we originally did the compositions. And it's going pretty well. What are you up to today, Traversal? So let's see if we can turn off this. No, that's pretty equal to that. Okay, good, except what? Don't really like it on this side as much as I liked it on the other side. Maybe it needs to be thicker. And I think it should not encroach so much on the character, so let's get rid of a couple of these. This is going to be a guide layer for a future one. Okay. Something like that, maybe. A couple little squigglies here. Yep, okay. So we're going to redo this with the proper line art now. And I think I'm going to try and lay on the pen a little harder so that it comes in thicker. Traversal saying, just bored, so I checked in on who was live. The classic Twitch style. Oh, crap. Okay, yeah, that looks a lot thicker. That's better. Well, glad you came in. Thanks for picking me. Okay, it's coming in pretty well. Traversal saying, do I have a book title name? Yeah, well, so the book is already has a title. I'm publishing an edition of an existing ancient Greek story that came out, or, is written in 400 AD. So it has a title, but various editions of it call it different things, so I settled on kind of a combination of multiple ones. If you're familiar with Homer, who is the, I guess, alleged writer of the Iliad and the Odyssey, this one is written by a poet who lived around 1,000 years after Homer and intended for this story to be like a bridge between Iliad and Odyssey. So it tells the end of the Trojan War, which is not told in the Iliad, Homer's book about the Trojan War. And so the book is called Posthomerica, which means after Homer. And the edition that I am using, the translation by Arthur Way, is he calls it The Fall of Troy, which is a little bit more of a, marketable title, I guess. But I think Posthomerica is better and more interesting, so I am using a combination of the two. So it's Posthomerica : The Fall of Troy. We're going to take this here we're going to move it somewhere else, maybe to here. Yeah, that's better. That's good. I think I want to do... Okay, let's take a couple pieces of this. Actually, I think we could solve this without changing certain aspects. We can just do this and create another loop-to-loop here, because I don't like when the loops get too long at the end of them. Okay, that doesn't really work, but what if we did? How would we want to do this one? That was weird. The pen, like, skipped. Let's take a quick look at the battery life of the pen. Okay, the pen is working okay. I don't really love it as much on this side. Let's do our own, just kind of like freestyle. I think it might be that I'm relying too much on the design that I already did on the left. Yeah, I think what works well about the other one is that the circles are always going in different directions. And they don't feel very predictable in that sense. Good. Okay. Get a little bit of a flowery looking thing in here. This doesn't fit that well in here. Okay, yeah, this is looking better than it did. Okay, so now get one of these. Good. And do one of these little guys, maybe one of these. Maybe like that. I like that. There's a little bit of, it feels like too much negative space on the top for Achilles. I wonder if we could just enlarge him. Would that even work? Welcome, Frost Fairy, to the show. How are you doing, Frost Fairy? We are sort of in the final moments of our Achilles versus Penthesilea picture. Let's save it real quick and just come back in. Make sure we don't lose anything. And it's so nice that it doesn't take forever to open anymore. Frost saying, looking good. Thank you, Frost. Traversal saying he's pretty talented. Frost saying, yes, he is. Wow, you guys are very nice. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I appreciate you guys saying it. I appreciate you guys lying. Yeah, it's my first book illustration. I'm really having a great time doing it. It's been a wild ride trying to learn how Greek art was made and do all that stuff that I did to try and learn the processes of ancient Greek artists and stuff. And that was a great time. And the narration has been really fun to do. It's been a cool thing this whole time through, so I've been having a great time. Okay, I think that's better. Probably should have saved like a rasterized picture of what it used to look like a second ago. Let's see here. So let's go like that, and then get rid of that. What do we got here? That's a layer that doesn't involve this. Let's do this. We want to get the hand outline sticking through. Because of the way that we layered this, we have to erase part of these. So this is cool. The top part, we need to change a little bit because this doesn't work anymore. Frost saying, OMG, Nick, shut up, you're talented. Traversal saying, nope, no lies here. Well, you guys are very nice. It's been cool to be able to try and do this. We've been learning it like on stream as well. Like literally the first episode of this whole process. We're on like episode 100 and something now. Like the high hundreds, I think, right now of this whole like audiobook and bookmaking process. But the first episode was this same picture in its roughest form when I was originally doing it. And like a lot of the techniques, it's been so cool to learn so many techniques since then. This is kind of like a fun amalgamation or like a end point to that journey in that first part. Let's see if we could do just a really quick... Okay, we're going to get rid of these. Let's get rid of this. And we'll put them in layers, I guess. Let's take this, 1, 2, 3. And here's what I want to try and do is, if we took, what is this? These are just nothing layers. Let's put these underneath. If we took this, let's make a duplicate in case. We'll do some kind of screen effect on here, which I don't really know which we want to do, but let's zoom in and just take a look at what it does. Not that one. So you can see it's doing something, but none of them are really doing exactly what we want. I would like to just get the texture coming through, but still have it, retain the color, which I don't think we're going to get. That's kind of like the closest, but it's clearly not what we want. We'll be able to do it properly on the computer, though, so we won't worry about that. I mean, I guess the easiest way would be to like turn it partially transparent, but that's not going to work either. So, yes, now let's take this. I'm going to just delete this other layer. We already have the pencil thing. And I'm not really sure what the best way to do this is going to be. I think if we just go for it. So you can see that now this is giving it a little bit more of like a kind of hand-drawn look. And we're just going to go through and redo all these shapes so that they have proper straight lines and all that. And I'll fill in all the blanks, afterwards. This should work, I think. Okay. Now the only problem with this type of brush that creates straight lines is that it also has a hard time kind of like with certain shapes, so it might look less kind of like stark than it did before, because it tends to like round out edges and stuff like that. Ironically, it's, you know, it straightens your lines, but it also makes things rounder. Go figure. So we'll see how this works. Let's try and just fill in the spaces between. We're not going to worry about getting everything underneath where the horse is. We're just going to assume we won't move it, and if we do, we'll fix it later. Good. And once we get these parts, we can use a bigger brush. We just need to get all the parts that are like intricate details or near an object or something. Oops. Can't erase that. This table's creaky all of a sudden. So you can see that I'm trying to retain some of this like charcoaliness. I don't want it to be completely like opaque, which is what we had before. I was cutting out of like a shape that I made, and obviously the shape when you make it is just totally that color. And that's not really what I want, because I want everything to have some kind of texture to it. Good. All right, yeah, that seems to work pretty well. Let's turn off the underlayer for a second and see how it looks. Yep, that's exactly what I want. Okay, good. Now we're just going to do the same thing on the other side, where we're adding instead of subtracting these triangles. And this will be easier and harder, because you don't have to draw the negative space, but harder because when we were drawing the negative space, we were able to kind of like go past where the shape needed to go, and now we can't do that. So this thing is screwing me. Why is it doing that? And for this, we'll probably have to cut away at some of these shapes with the eraser tool. Oh crap, that's why this is not... Okay. Well, I was wondering why these weren't coming out straight. So you can see that it's really hard to make something like this edge with the pencil that we're using. Alright, so let's turn off the underlayer. And we'll see if anything needs to be fixed. See, it's easier to get these clean shapes if we just erase rather than worrying about drawing it in the first place like that. And with these, I stopped trying to draw the edges because these are going to be easier to do without the guide. Great. Okay. Now, we just want to take a big brush and do the rest of this. And we'll just do this on another layer. Save it real quick. We can also delete this, which is an old version of this document. Okay, we have our new layer, get our big brush. Whoa, that's really big, maybe like this big. And again, we're doing this with a brush because we do want to retain some kind of texture if we can. Okay, this thing is starting to freak out now. And of course, if I was really skilled with Photoshop art, I would be able to, I would know how to do all these kind of texture things, you know, not like this, you know, with like other layers and stuff, but this works fine for us. So yeah, these types of the really clean lines we're going to have to fix in post. But as of now, this Penthesilea picture, let's just take a quick look around it. We'll make a new layer just so that we can explore. What do we got here? This is these things. These are... Okay, we're gonna just clean up the document real quick. When I take this into the PC, it's gonna be all unnamed layers, which is, kind of gross. So it at least makes it a little easier if they're all in folders. I guess let's not put this in here. We're gonna have that be its own thing. These are gonna go in their own thing. And that's about it. So as for stuff that we did here, I think the upper area looks really good. I love the designs for our borders. They all look good. We arrived at something really nice with these circular things. I always wanted this picture to have some reference to it already clearly has reference to the Achilles versus Penthesilea picture that is like on a piece of Greek pottery already. But just because Achilles is mostly identical to the version that is on that, I changed his pose a little bit, but not much. So there's clearly a reference there, but this motif I always really loved, and that is, we're kind of doing our own spin on it with this one. So I'm glad we got to work that in, because until this episode, we had removed that aesthetic. This, I thought, was really strong in the original, or rather, when we came up with that, and I think this is a great middle ground. I love that we have the black and the white figure, rather the red figure over here and the black figure over here. They both work really well. The left side, these... I really like the look of the dust clouds on the black background. I think that looks even better than the one on the red background over here looks. Yeah, and we mostly this one had a lot of stuff where we had to redo all of the line art because we had done it with a different type of pen. I wish I could show what the original looked like, but if you look at the pen strokes on this one, they have this kind of like chalkiness to them, and the originals were like really digital looking and gross. So I'm glad we redid it. We have by the time we got to picture number like 5 or 4, I think like number 5, we came up with like a definitive line weight that we used for everything. And that kind of standardized the pictures in a way that made them look all, no matter what art style they are, they all look kind of like uniform, which is good. And so, yeah, ultimately, this went from being my least favorite by far composition to, I think, one of my favorites now. So I'm pretty happy with it. We'll do a little bit of post-processing on it. I don't know if I'm going to do that on stream or not because I'm not really sure what I'm doing with that. But, yeah, thanks for joining, ladies and gents. We got one of them down, 13 to go with the artwork. Let me go on my document here. I have a little document for like the artwork progress. We're going to mark this one down as, so design green on all of them. Final art for this one was yellow because we're in progress, and I just marked it green. Then so number 1, final art, green. Post-processing, TBD. There's like 3 steps. This is like step 2. And at this point, we've done like 95% of the work. The post-processing, I think, is going to be a very quick process because I don't want to make it look like photorealistic or anything. We're just going to throw a couple of like little weathering layers on here or something. Good stuff, ladies and gents. Thanks for joining the show. The channel is called The Voice of Nick. If you want to see more, don't forget to hit the follow button, and I will see you next time.